The big meeting room on Space Station Nexus Prime was full of worry. Aliens from all over the galaxy sat around a huge table, their different colors and shapes making strange shadows on the walls. Some had wings, others had many arms, and a few looked like walking crystals that sparkled in the light. Ambassador Zethka from the Valani people stood in the center of the room. His crystal body was shaking, and the light inside him was getting dimmer. He held a small device that made crackling sounds. Through the noise, everyone could hear explosions and screams. "Council members, this is our last message," Zethka said, his voice breaking. "The Scorath have broken through our defenses. They destroyed our colony world Velani 7. Our ships are trapped in the Kepler 442 system. We have maybe 6 hours before they kill us all." The room went quiet. Every alien knew about the Scorath. They were raiders who traveled from world to world, stealing everything and killing everyone. They had destroyed hundreds of peaceful planets. No one had ever beaten them in a fight. Council leader Guises Moore was a giant insect-like creature with sharp claws and big eyes. He clicked his mouthparts together nervously. "What help can we send to that area?" Military leader Vexil had 6 arms and moved them quickly over glowing screens. "Nothing they can get there fast enough. Our nearest warships are 14 hours away. The Velani will be dead by then." No one said anything. The Velani were loved by everyone in the galaxy. They were artists and philosophers who never hurt anyone. They made beautiful music and wrote wise books. Losing them would be terrible. That a small voice spoke from the back of the room. "There is one way to help." Everyone turned to look. Captain Lisa Morgan stood up. She was human, much smaller than most of the aliens in the room. But when she spoke, everyone listened. There was something about humans that made other species nervous. "We have 3 human ships doing training exercises in the next system over," Morgan said calmly. "We could reach the Valani in 4 hours." The room filled with worried sounds. Everyone knew about humans and their scary reputation. They came from a world so dangerous that most aliens would die just trying to breathe the air. Their warships were built like flying fortresses, and their soldiers loved to fight. "Captain Morgan," Guises Moore said carefully, "we thank you for wanting to help. But the Scorath have over 200 ships. Your 3 ships would be enough." Morgan cut him off. A small smile appeared on her face. "Trust me, Council Leader. We have been waiting to meet the Scorath for a long time." In the cold darkness of space, 3 human ships floated like sleeping monsters. The biggest one was called U.E.'s Vengeance. It was a kilometer long and covered with weapons that broke several galaxy peace treaties. Next to it were 2 smaller ships, U.E.'s Retribution and U.E.'s Defiance. Each one carried enough firepower to destroy a small moon. Admiral Jake Sullivan stood on the bridge of the Vengeance. He was a tall man with gray hair and cold eyes. Around him, his crew worked quietly. They moved like people who knew exactly how dangerous they were. "Admiral, we are getting the help call from the Valani," said Lieutenant Commander Amy Rodriguez. She was sitting at the communication station, her fingers dancing over the controls. "How long to get there?" Sullivan asked. "Just under 4 hours. If we go full speed," answered Navigation Officer Tony Walsh. Sullivan nodded. "Tell all ships to get ready for battle and open a channel to the Scorath." The bridge went silent. Sullivan pressed a button and spoke into his microphone. His voice was calm but scary. "Scorath ships, this is Admiral Jake Sullivan of the Human Fleet. You have 30 minutes to leave Velani space. This is your only warning." The answer came back fast. It was full of ugly laughing sounds. "Human, you are outnumbered 60 to 1. Your people may be tough, but you are not magic. We will add your ships to our collection." Sullivan smiled. It was the kind of smile that made brave soldiers afraid. Rodriguez, send them our answer. On every Scoreth ship, human music started, playing. The loud, powerful notes of an old Earth War song filled their speakers. On their screens, 3 small dots appeared, moving toward them very fast. Sir, said Weapons Officer Carlos Martinez, all weapons are ready. Plasma guns are charged, bullet launchers are loaded, and the special weapons are armed. Good, Sullivan said. Martinez, what did the alien biology reports say about Scoreth hearing? They hear very low sounds really well, sir. They use those sounds to see in the dark. Perfect. Chief Brooks, turn on the sound weapons. Let's give them a proper human welcome. Chief Petty Officer Ellen Brooks pressed several buttons on her control panel. The 3 human ships began to make a sound so low that most species could not hear it. But to the Scoreth, it sounded like the heartbeat of some huge monster coming to eat them. The hunt was about to begin. Back on the Villani command ship, Captain Velthera watched her screens with growing fear. The Scoreth ships covered the stars like a cloud of metal death. They were destroying everything in their path. How long before they break through our last defenses? She asked. 2 hours at most, Captain. Our shields are failing, and most of our weapons are broken. Suddenly, the communications officer looked up with surprise. Captain, I see 3 new ships on the long-range sensors. Small ships, coming fast? More Scoreth? Velthera asked, her crystal body getting dimmer. No, Captain. The energy readings are different, and they are playing music. The human ships came closer. Admiral Sullivan stood on his bridge, watching the enemy formation. There were so many Scoreth ships that they looked like a swarm of angry insects. All ships, stay in formation, he ordered. Remember, we want some of them to live so they can tell others what happened here. The first sign of trouble came when the humans were still an hour away. The deep sound pulses from their ships began to affect the Scoreth crews. Ancient fears woke up in their minds. Warriors who had never been afraid started to shake. On the lead Scoreth ship, Warlord Krextha sat on his command throne. He was a huge, ugly creature with sharp teeth and claws. He had destroyed 100 worlds and killed millions of beings. But now, for the first time in his life, he felt afraid. All ships, hold your positions, he growled into his communicator. Let these humans come. We will crush them and take their skulls. But deep inside, Krextha wondered if they had made a terrible mistake. The humans were still far away, but already his crew was acting strange. Some of them were hiding in corners. Others were making scared noises. The sound was getting louder. It felt like death itself was coming for them. Admiral Sullivan looked at his tactical display. The Scoreth ships were starting to spread out. Their tight formation was breaking apart as fear took hold of their crews. Sir, reported Amy Rodriguez, we are picking up panic signals from several Scoreth vessels. Their crews are asking for permission to retreat. Denied, Sullivan said with a cold smile. They wanted to meet humans. Now they will learn what that means. The 3 human ships moved through space like hunting sharks. Their weapons were warming up, their crews were ready, and their music was still playing. The Scoreth had terrorized the galaxy for decades. They thought they were the most dangerous predators in space that were about to learn they were wrong. The human ships moved through space like silent hunters. Admiral Jake Sullivan stood on the bridge of the UES Vengeance, watching the screens that showed the enemy positions. His crew worked around him with quiet efficiency. Everyone knew their job, and everyone was ready for what was coming. Time to weapons range? Sullivan asked. 43 minutes, sir, came the answer from Tony Walsh at the navigation station. Sullivan nodded. He pressed a button on his chair. All ships, this is Admiral Sullivan. We are about to engage a force that outnumbers us 20 to 1. They have been terrorizing peaceful worlds for decades. Today, we show them what happens when predators meet apex predators. On the UES Retribution, Captain Steve Parker listened to the Admiral's words while checking his ship's weapons. His crew was smaller than the Vengeance, but they were just as ready to fight. The Retribution carried enough missiles to level a city, and its crew knew how to use them. "Captain," said his weapons officer, "all missile tubes are loaded and ready. Plasma cannons are at full charge." "Good," Parker replied. "Remember, we want to make this quick and clean. The faster we end this, the fewer Vellani die." On the U's Defiance, Captain Maria Santos was having the same conversation with her crew. Her ship was the smallest of the three, but it was also the fastest. While the other ships would hit the enemy head-on, the Defiance would circle around and attack from behind. "All crew, battle stations," Santos announced. "We are going to show the galaxy why humans are called Deathworlders." The Scoreth fleet waited in space like a cloud of metal death. 200 ships strong, they had never met a force they could not defeat. Their leader, Warlord Krextha, stood in his command center, trying to shake off the fear that was creeping into his mind. The low-sound pulses from the human ships were getting stronger. His crew was starting to panic. Some of them were hiding in corners, while others were making scared noises he had never heard before. "Status report," Krextha demanded. "Sir?" 15 ships are requesting permission to retreat," his second-in-command reported. "The crews are saying they hear the heartbeat of death itself." "Cowards," Krextha snarled. "Any ship that retreats will be destroyed by our own guns. We are Scoreth. We fear nothing." But even as he said it, Krextha felt his own claws shaking. The sound was doing something to his mind, awakening ancient fears that his species had forgotten millions of years ago. On the human ships, the crews were calm and focused. They had trained for this moment their entire lives. While other species learned to farm or build or create art, humans learned to fight. It was what they did best. "Sir," Amy Rodriguez reported from the communication station, "we are getting signals from the Vellani survivors. They are asking if we really think we can win." Sullivan almost laughed. "Tell them to watch and learn." The first shots were fired when the human ships were still 1,000,000 kilometers away. The Scoreth opened up with everything they had, filling space with plasma bolts and missile trails. It was enough firepower to destroy a small fleet. The human ships barely noticed. Their shields absorbed the hits like raindrops, while their point defense systems shot down the missiles before they could get close. "Is that all they have?" asked Carlos Martinez at the weapons station. "Apparently," Sullivan replied. "Let's show them what real weapons look like." The U's Vengeance fired its main guns. 3 beams of concentrated plasma, each one as hot as the center of a star, reached out across space. They hit the lead Scoreth ship and turned it into vapor in less than a second. The Scoreth fleet stopped firing. For a moment, space was silent, except for the music still playing from the human ships. Then panic set in. "All ships, attack pattern Delta," Sullivan ordered. "Remember, we want survivors to tell the story." The 3 human ships spread out and began their assault. The UES Retribution launched a wall of missiles that swept through the Scoreth formation like a scythe. Ships exploded left and right, their crews never knowing what hit them. The U's Defiance came in from the side, its plasma, cannons cutting through Scoreth armor like paper. Captain Santos moved her ship with the grace of a dancer, dodging return fire while dealing death with surgical precision. The UE's Vengeance was a hammer, smashing through the enemy lines with overwhelming force. Every shot from its main guns destroyed another Scoreth vessel. Its smaller weapons picked off fighters and escort ships with casual ease. "Sir?" reported Ellen Brooks from the electronic warfare station. I am picking up surrender signals from multiple Scoreth ships. Ignore them, Sullivan said coldly. They did not accept surrender from the worlds they destroyed. The battle continued for 30 minutes. It was not really a battle in the traditional sense. It was a demonstration of power, a lesson in what happened when predators met apex predators. The Scoreth ships were built for raiding peaceful worlds. They were fast and carried enough firepower to destroy cities, but they were not designed to fight other warships. Against the human fleet, they were like wolves attacking tigers. One by one, the Scoreth ships were destroyed or disabled. Their crews abandoned ship when they could, fleeing in escape pods toward the edge of the system. Those who stayed to fight died quickly. Warlord Krex Tha watched his fleet being destroyed from the bridge of his command ship. In 30 minutes, the humans had done what no other force in the galaxy had managed to do. They had broken the Scoreth horde. Sir, his communications officer said with a shaking voice, we are getting a signal from the lead human ship. Put it through, Krex Tha said. Admiral Sullivan's face appeared on the screen. His expression was calm, almost bored. Warlord Krex Tha, I assume? Yes, human. You have won this battle, but the war is far from over. The Scoreth have 1,000 ships across the galaxy. Had, Sullivan corrected. We have been hunting your kind for months. This was just the largest group we found. The others are already space dust. Krex Tha felt his blood turn cold. Impossible. We would have heard about attacks on our other fleets. You would have, if there had been any survivors to report them, Sullivan said with a slight smile. We are very thorough in our work. The Scoreth warlord looked around at what was left of his fleet. 50 ships out of 200 were still functional, and most of those were badly damaged. His crew was in a state of panic, and his weapons were nearly exhausted. What do you want? He asked. Simple, Sullivan replied. Leave this system. Leave this sector. Go back to whatever hole you crawled out of, and never come back. If we see a single Scoreth ship in civilized space again, we will hunt down every last one of your kind. And if we refuse? Sullivan's smile got wider. Then you will find out why the rest of the galaxy calls us Deathworlders. Krex Tha looked at his tactical display. The 3 human ships were still there, still playing their music, still waiting. His sensors showed that they had barely used half their ammunition. They could destroy what was left of his fleet without breaking a sweat. We will leave, he said finally. Smart choice, Sullivan said. You have 1 hour to get out of this system. After that, we start shooting again. The transmission ended. Krex Tha turned to his crew. All ships, retreat to the edge of the system. We leave this place. As the surviving Scoreth ships limped away, the human fleet turned toward the Vellani survivors. The crystalline beings watched in amazement as their saviors approached. This is Admiral Sullivan of the Terran Defense Force, came the transmission. Vellani ships, you are safe now. We are sending medical teams and repair crews to assist you. Captain Vel Thara could barely believe what she was seeing. In less than an hour, the humans had done what the entire Galactic Council could not do. They had defeated the Scoreth horde. Admiral Sullivan, she said, her voice filled with gratitude. How can we ever thank you? No thanks necessary, Sullivan replied. Just remember what you saw here today. The galaxy is a dangerous place, but it does not have to be a hopeless one. There are those who will stand against the darkness. As the human ships moved to assist the Vellani survivors, their music still echoed through space. It was a song of victory, a song of hope, and a warning to any who would threaten the innocent. The Scoreth had learned a hard lesson. They were no longer the most dangerous predators in the galaxy. That title belonged to the humans, and the humans used their power to protect those who could not protect themselves. The age of the Deathworlders had begun. The battle was over, but the real work was just beginning. Admiral Jake Sullivan stood on the bridge of the UES Vengeance, watching the rescue operations through the main view screen. Human medical teams were boarding the damaged Vellani ships, while repair crews worked to fix their engines and life support systems. "Sir," Amy Rodriguez reported from the communications station, "we are getting messages from across the galaxy." "News of the battle is spreading fast." Sullivan nodded. "What kind of messages?" "Mostly congratulations and requests for help. It seems like every peaceful world in the galaxy wants human protection now. And the Galactic Council? They are calling an emergency meeting. They want to discuss the implications of what happened here." Sullivan almost smiled. The implications were simple enough. The galaxy's bullies had just learned that there was someone bigger and meaner than they were. The question was whether the galaxy's peacekeepers would be smart enough to use that knowledge. On the damaged Vellani command ship, Captain Vel Farah watched as human medics worked to save her injured crew. The humans moved with quick efficiency, their hands gentle, but their eyes alert. They had just finished destroying 200 enemy ships, and now they were acting like caring doctors. "Captain," one of the human medics said, "we need to get your injured to our medical bay. Our equipment can handle crystalline biology better than your emergency systems." Vel Farah nodded. "Do whatever you need to do. These beings are my responsibility." The medic, a young woman named Dr. Kelly Smith, placed a reassuring hand on Vel Farah's arm. "They will be fine, Captain. We have experience treating many different species. Your people are safe now." As the medical evacuation continued, other human ships began arriving in the system. They were not warships, but supply vessels and hospital ships. Within hours, the Kepler 442 system was full of human aid workers, engineers, and medical staff. Far away, in the depths of space, the surviving Scoreth ships limped toward their hidden bases. Warlord Krex Tha sat alone in his command center, staring at the tactical reports. His fleet was broken, his reputation was ruined, and his people were afraid. "Sir," his communications officer said nervously, "we are getting messages from our other fleets. They want to know what happened here." "Tell them the truth," Krex Tha said bitterly. "Tell them we met the humans, and we learned why they are called Deathworlders. Sir, what are your orders?" Krex Tha looked at the star charts on his screen. The human ships were still out there, still hunting. According to Admiral Sullivan, they had already destroyed other Scoreth fleets. The great horde that had terrorized the galaxy for decades was dying. "Send messages to all Scoreth commanders," he said finally. "Tell them to avoid human space. Tell them to avoid any world under human protection. And tell them that the age of easy raiding is over." Back on Nexus Prime, the Galactic Council was in chaos. Representatives from dozens of species crowded into the main chamber, all talking at once. Some were celebrating the defeat of the Scoreth, while others were worried about the implications of human military power. Council Leader Thysismore clicked, his mandibles for silence. "Order. We will have order in this chamber." The noise slowly died down. Captain Lisa Morgan stood in the center of the room, calm and composed despite the chaos around her. She had been answering questions for hours, but her patience never seemed to run out. "Captain Morgan," said Ambassador Vexnim of the Hegemony, "while we are grateful for your assistance to the Vellani, we must discuss the broader implications of your actions. The level of destruction your forces unleashed was unprecedented." "The Scoreth were killing innocent people," Morgan replied simply. "We stopped them. I am not sure what implications you are worried about." "The implications of having a military force that can destroy entire fleets with such ease," Vexnim said. "What happens when humanity decides that other species need to be controlled? Morgan's expression did not change. That will never happen, Ambassador. Humans fight to protect, not to conquer. We have our own worlds and our own problems. We do not want to rule other species. But what guarantee do we have of that? Pressed Representative Clistor of the Merchant Alliance. Power corrupts, Captain. History shows us that strong species eventually dominate weak ones. Before Morgan could answer, another voice spoke up. Ambassador Zeth Ka of the Valani Federation stepped forward, his crystalline form blazing with bright light. With respect to my fellow council members, Zethka said, his harmonic voice carrying clearly through the chamber, I find this discussion deeply insulting. The humans saved my people from extinction. They came when no one else could help, fought when no one else would fight, and asked for nothing in return. The Valani ambassador's form grew even brighter. Yes, the humans are dangerous. Yes, their weapons are terrible and their tactics are brutal. But that danger was used to protect millions of innocent lives. I would rather live in a galaxy guarded by dangerous friends than die in one ruled by peaceful enemies. A murmur of agreement ran through the chamber. Many of the smaller species had suffered under Scoreth raids. They knew what it was like to be helpless against stronger predators. The Valani make a good point, said Representative Torkil of the Independent Worlds. The Scoreth have been a plague on peaceful civilizations for generations. The Council's response was always to issue protests and sanctions. The humans responded with action. Action that bordered on genocide, Vexnim shot back. The humans destroyed most of the Scoreth fleet. How many beings died in that battle? Fewer than died in the last Scoreth raid on a peaceful world, Captain. Morgan said quietly, the Scoreth understand only strength. They respect only force. We gave them both, and now they will think twice before attacking innocent people. The debate continued for hours. Some representatives argued that human military power was too dangerous to be left unchecked. Others argued that it was exactly what the galaxy needed. Through it all, Captain Morgan answered questions with patience and honesty. Finally, Council Leader Thizes Moore called for order. Captain Morgan, the Council appreciates humanity's service to the Valani Federation. However, we must address the concerns that have been raised. What assurances can you provide that human military intervention will remain selective? Morgan looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of representatives from dozens of species. Simple, she said. Do not give us a reason to intervene. The Terran Defense Force responds to three things: attacks on human territory, requests for help from allied governments, and threats to galactic stability. Stay within those boundaries, and you will never see our warships except at diplomatic functions. And if we do not? Asked Representative Clistor. Morgan's smile was polite, but absolutely terrifying. Then you will discover why the rest of the galaxy calls us Deathworlders. The chamber fell silent. Everyone understood the message. The humans were offering protection to those who wanted it, but they were also making it clear that they would not tolerate threats to galactic peace. Over. The following weeks, the effects of the Kepler incident spread throughout the galaxy. Pirate raids dropped by 70% as raiders decided that legitimate trade was safer than risking human attention. The militant hegemony began resolving border disputes through negotiation rather than force. Even the criminal cartels started looking for new lines of work. Admiral Sullivan received reports from human intelligence officers stationed throughout the galaxy. The message was always the same. The bad guys were getting scared, and the good guys were getting hopeful. Sir, Amy Rodriguez reported during one of their regular briefings, we are getting requests for protection from over 40 different worlds. They want to know if they can join the Terran Defense Pact. What does Command say? Sullivan asked. They are being selective. They want to make sure we can protect everyone we promise to protect. But they are definitely interested in expanding. Our network of allies, Sullivan nodded. The galaxy was changing, and humanity was at the center of that change. The question was whether they could handle the responsibility that came with their power. Rodriguez, send a message to all human commanders, he ordered. Remind them that we are protectors, not conquerors. Our job is to keep the peace, not to impose our will on others. Yes, sir. As the weeks passed, the new reality of Galactic politics became clear. The Scoreth horde was broken and scattered. Pirates were looking for new careers. Aggressive species were learning the value of diplomacy. And peaceful worlds were sleeping better at night, knowing that somewhere out there, human ships were keeping watch. The age of the Deathworlders had begun, and the galaxy would never be the same. 3 months after the Kepler incident, the galaxy was still trying to understand what had happened. The Galactic Council met again, but this time the mood was different. Instead of panic, there was careful consideration. Instead of fear, there was cautious hope. Captain Lisa Morgan stood in the center of the chamber, but she was no longer alone. Representatives from 12 different species stood with her, all of them wearing the blue and silver insignia of the of the Terran Defense Pact. The small alliance had grown quickly as worlds sought human protection. The floor recognizes Captain Morgan, announced Council Leader Thysismore. Morgan stepped forward. Thank you, Council Leader. I am here to present the quarterly report on Terran Defense Force activities. She activated a holographic display that showed the galaxy divided into different colored zones. In the 3 months since the Kepler incident, we have seen significant changes in galactic security. Pirate activity has dropped by 68%. Unauthorized military actions have decreased by 45%. Trade route security has improved by 80%. The statistics were impressive, but some representatives still looked worried. Ambassador Vexnim of the Hegemony stood up. Captain Morgan, while these numbers are encouraging, we must discuss the methods used to achieve them. Our intelligence reports suggest that human ships have been conducting operations without Council approval. That is correct, Morgan replied calmly. The Terran Defense Force operates under its own authority when protecting allied worlds or responding to threats against galactic stability. But who decides what constitutes a threat? Vexnim pressed. Who gives humans the right to make those decisions? Before Morgan could answer, Ambassador Zethka rose from his seat. The Velani's crystalline form was glowing with calm light. If I may address the chamber? Thysismore nodded. The floor recognizes Ambassador Zethka. 3 months ago, my people were facing extinction. Zethka began. The Scoreth horde was destroying our worlds, and no one could help us. The Council had no ships close enough, no weapons powerful enough, no will strong enough to save us. He paused, letting his words sink in. The humans came. They fought. They won. And they asked for nothing in return except the chance to prevent such tragedies from happening again. The Velani ambassador looked around the chamber. My people are alive today because the humans were willing to act when others could not. That is not tyranny. That is heroism. A murmur of agreement ran through the chamber. Many of the representatives came from small, peaceful worlds that had lived in fear of raiders and aggressive neighbors. The idea of having powerful protectors was appealing, but not everyone was convinced. Representative Clistor of the Merchant Alliance stood up. Ambassador Zethka, we all appreciate what the humans did for your people, but we must consider the long-term implications. What happens when human interests conflict with galactic interests? Give you as an example, Morgan said. KLI-DO are looked uncomfortable. Well, suppose the humans decide that a particular trade route should be closed for security reasons. What if that route is vital to the economic survival of several worlds? Then we would work with those worlds to find an alternative, Morgan replied. The Terran Defense Force has no interest in controlling trade. We only care about preventing violence. But what if we disagree about what constitutes violence? Clistor pressed. What if the humans decide that economic competition is a threat to stability? Morgan's expression did not change. Representative Clistor, have you read the Terran Defense Pact Charter? I have. Then you know that it explicitly states that humans will not interfere in internal affairs of member worlds, will not restrict legitimate trade, and will not impose political systems on other species. Our only goals are to prevent aggressive wars and protect innocent people. Words on paper, Clistor muttered. Actions speak louder than words, said a new voice. Everyone turned to see Admiral Jake Sullivan entering the chamber. The tall, gray-haired human moved with the confidence of someone who had faced death many times and won. Admiral, Gazismore said, we were not expecting you. I apologize for the interruption, Sullivan said, but I thought the Council should hear from someone who has been implementing these policies in the field. He moved to stand beside Captain Morgan. In the past 3 months, the Terran Defense Force has conducted 47 operations. 32 were rescue missions. 12 were anti-piracy patrols. 3 were humanitarian aid deliveries. None were invasions. None were conquests. None were attempts to impose human will on other species. Sullivan looked around the chamber. We have had opportunities to take control of resource-rich worlds. We have had chances to install friendly governments. We have had invitations to establish permanent bases on strategic worlds. We have refused all of these opportunities because they are not part of our mission. And what is your mission? Asked Vexnim. To make sure that peaceful people can live peaceful lives, Sullivan replied. To ensure that predators like the Scoreth cannot terrorize innocent worlds. To create a galaxy where strength is used to protect the weak, not to exploit them. The chamber fell silent. Even the skeptics had to admit that human actions had been consistent with their stated goals. The Terran Defense Force had opportunities to become conquerors, but they had chosen to remain protectors. Council leader Gazismore clicked his mandibles thoughtfully. Admiral Sullivan, Captain Morgan, the Council appreciates your service to galactic peace. However, we must address a practical concern. Your forces are stretched thin. Reports suggest that you are responding to requests for help from across the galaxy. How long can you maintain this level of activity? Morgan and Sullivan exchanged glances. This was the question they had been expecting. Council leader, Morgan said, you are correct that our forces are stretched thin. We currently have 300 ships trying to patrol half the galaxy. We need more ships, more crews, and more resources. Are you asking the Council for funding? Asked Representative Clistor suspiciously. No, Sullivan said. We are asking for partners. We want to help other species build their own defense forces. We want to train their crews and share our technology. We want to create a network of allies who can protect themselves and help protect others. The idea was radical. For centuries, the Galactic Council had maintained peace through diplomacy and economic pressure. The idea of creating an actual military alliance was new and frightening. What would such an alliance look like? Asked Gazismore. Simple, Morgan replied. Member worlds would contribute ships and crews according to their ability. We would provide training, equipment, and coordination. Together, we would patrol the galaxy and respond to threats. And who would command this alliance? Asked Vexnim. A joint council with representatives from all member species, Sullivan said. Humans would provide military expertise, but decisions would be made democratically. The debate continued for hours. Some representatives were enthusiastic about the idea of a galactic defense force. Others worried about the cost and the risks. A few were openly hostile to the idea of militarizing the galaxy. Finally, Gazismore called for a recess. The Council will consider this proposal carefully. We will reconvene in 1 week to discuss the details. As the representatives filed out of the chamber, Ambassador Zithka approached Captain Morgan. "Captain, I wanted to thank you again for everything your people have done." "No thanks necessary," Morgan replied. "We were happy to help." "I have a question," Zethka said. "Why are humans willing to risk so much for people you barely know? Your species could have stayed in your own space and been safe." Morgan thought for a moment before answering. "Ambassador, humans learned long ago that evil spreads when good people do nothing. We tried staying isolated once, back on our home world. It did not work out well for anyone. But surely there must be some benefit for your people?" Zethka pressed. "Some advantage you gained from this?" Admiral Sullivan joined the conversation. "There is an advantage," he said. "We get to sleep at night knowing that we did the right thing. We get to look at ourselves in the mirror and be proud of what we see." He looked out the window at the stars beyond. "Ambassador, humans have been fighting for survival since we first walked upright on our home world. We learned that the strong have a choice. They can use their strength to take from the weak, or they can use it to protect the weak. We chose protection." Zethka's crystalline form pulsed with understanding. "I see. And you believe that this choice makes you stronger?" "I know it does," Sullivan replied. "A bully only has to worry about himself. A protector has friends who will fight beside him when the real danger comes." Over the following week, the Council debated the human proposal. Behind closed doors, representatives argued about costs, risks, and benefits. Some species were eager to join a galactic defense force. Others worried about losing their independence. The Valani were the first to formally request membership in the expanded Terran Defense Pact. Within days, they were followed by the Artisan Collective, the Independent Worlds, and several smaller species. Even some hegemony worlds began sending quiet inquiries. But resistance came from unexpected quarters. The Merchant Alliance was worried about the cost of maintaining warships. Some core worlds felt that they were already safe, and 2 years had passed since the Kepler incident, and the galaxy looked very different. Captain Lisa Morgan stood on the observation deck of the new Galactic Defense Alliance headquarters, watching ships from a dozen different species conduct joint training exercises in the space around. Nexus Prime, a Villani crystal ship, moved in. Perfect formation with a human destroyer. Artisan Collective engineers worked alongside Terran technicians to repair a damaged patrol vessel. Even a few reformed hegemony ships had joined the exercises, their crews learning the value of cooperation over conquest. "Quite a sight, isn't it?" said Admiral Jake Sullivan, joining Morgan at the window. "Better than I hoped for," Morgan replied. 2 years ago, most of these species had never worked together. Now look at them. Through the transparent aluminum, they could see the newest addition to the Alliance fleet. The GDA Unity was the first ship designed and built by multiple species, working together. It combined human weapons technology with Vallani crystal computing, artisan manufacturing techniques, and independent worlds engineering. The result was a vessel more advanced than anything any single species could have built alone. "How are the integration exercises going?" Morgan asked. "Better than expected," Sullivan replied. "The crews are learning to work together faster than our projections suggested. Turns out that shared danger creates strong bonds, regardless of species." A young officer approached them. Lieutenant Commander Amy Rodriguez, now serving as Alliance Communications Coordinator, carried a datapad with the latest reports. "Captain." "Admiral, I have the monthly security briefing," she said. "What's the situation?" Morgan asked. Rodriguez activated her datapad, displaying a holographic map of the galaxy. Pirate activity is down another 15%. The Scorath remnants have completely withdrawn beyond the rim. 3 former raider groups have applied for legitimate salvage licenses. Any new threats? Sullivan asked. Nothing major. The hegemony is still conducting military exercises near the border, but their ambassadors insist it's purely defensive training. The Merchant Alliance reports some smuggling activity, but nothing the local authorities can't handle. Morgan nodded. What about membership applications? 5 new species have requested observer status. 2 are asking for full membership. The Centauri Federation wants to discuss a mutual defense treaty. The Centauri? Sullivan raised an eyebrow. They've been isolationist for centuries. Apparently, they've been watching our operations and like what they see, Rodriguez explained. Their ambassador says they're tired of worrying about external threats and want to focus on internal development. It was a common story. Across the galaxy, species that had spent fortunes on military defense were discovering that cooperation was cheaper and more effective than going it alone. The Alliance provided security while allowing member worlds to focus on their strengths. Any problems with the new members? Morgan asked. Rodriguez hesitated. Well, there's still some tension between the Artisan Collective and the independent worlds over trade routes. And the reformed hegemony worlds keep trying to establish military hierarchies that conflict with Alliance equality principles. Nothing we can't work through, Sullivan said. Growing pains are normal when different cultures try to work together. The conversation was interrupted by an alarm. The command center's main screen lit up with an incoming priority message. Council. Leader Thys Is More appeared, his insectoid features tense with worry. Admiral Sullivan, Captain Morgan, we have a situation. Long-range sensors have detected a large fleet approaching from the galactic rim. Energy signatures are unknown, but the formation suggests hostile intent. Morgan and Sullivan exchanged glances. This was what they had been preparing for. The test of whether their alliance could handle a real threat. How large is the fleet? Sullivan asked. Preliminary estimates suggest over 500 vessels. They will reach the outer colonies in 6 days. Any attempts at communication? None. They ignore all hail frequencies and continue their approach. Sullivan turned to Rodriguez. Signal all Alliance ships. Emergency mobilization. Condition red. I want every available vessel at the rally point in 4 days. Yes, sir, Rodriguez replied, already working her communication console dot. As the alarm spread throughout Alliance space, the new organization faced its first real test. Within hours, ships from 15 different species were moving toward the coordinates Sullivan had specified. It was the largest fleet ever assembled in galactic history. The rally point was an empty system near the galactic rim, chosen for its strategic position and lack of inhabited worlds. As Alliance ships arrived, they formed into mixed squadrons, human destroyers working with Vellani science vessels, artisan frigates supporting independent worlds cruisers. Admiral Sullivan stood on the bridge of the flagship GDA Unity, watching the fleet assemble. The ship's command crew was a mix of species, each bringing their own expertise to the task. It was exactly what the Alliance had been designed for. Fleet status report, he ordered. 412 ships ready for action, reported the Vellani tactical officer. Mixed composition, all squadrons at full readiness. Communications? Sullivan asked. Still no response from the approaching fleet, said the human communications officer. But we're picking up some interesting energy patterns. Whatever they're using for propulsion, it's not like anything in our databases. Captain Maria Santos of the human cruiser Defiance appeared on screen. Admiral, my science teams have been analyzing the sensor data. These ships are definitely not from this galaxy. The bridge fell silent. Contact with extragalactic civilizations was purely theoretical. No one had ever actually encountered visitors from beyond the galactic rim. Recommendations? Sullivan asked. We maintain defensive positions, but attempt communication. suggested the artisan tactical advisor. If they're peaceful, we don't want to provoke them. If they're hostile, we're ready to respond. Agreed, Sullivan said. All ships defensive formation. Continue attempts at communication, all frequencies and formats. For 2 days, the Alliance fleet waited while the unknown vessels approached. Every attempt at communication was ignored. Long-range sensors provided more details about the approaching ships. They were huge, heavily armed, and moving with purpose. On the 3rd day, the aliens finally responded to communication attempts. The message was brief and chilling. Inferior beings of this galaxy came the transmission in perfect galactic standard. You will submit to the Dracarian Empire or be destroyed. We have conquered 17 galaxies. Yours will be the 18th. Resistance is futile. The Alliance fleet prepared for battle. Unlike the Scorith, these aliens were not raiders or pirates. They were conquerors with the technology and experience of multiple galactic conquests behind them. All ships combat formation, Sullivan ordered. This is what we trained for, people. Show them what the Alliance can do. The battle began when the Dracarian fleet was still a light hour away. Their weapons reached across impossible distances, striking Alliance ships with energy beams that ignored conventional shields. But the Alliance had advantages the Drakkar had not expected. Working together, the mixed crews could respond to threats faster than any single species could manage. Human tactical expertise combined with Velani computational power and artisan engineering created solutions that no one could have imagined alone. The battle lasted 18 hours. When it was over, the Dracorian invasion fleet was scattered and broken. The survivors limped back toward the galactic rim, carrying news of their defeat to whatever empire had sent them. Admiral Sullivan stood on the bridge of the Unity, looking at the casualty reports. The Alliance had lost 63 ships and over 12,000 crew members. It was a heavy price, but far less than it could have been. Signal from the fleet, reported the communications officer. They're asking for orders, Sullivan thought for a moment. The Alliance had won its first major battle, but this was just the beginning. If the Drakkar had conquered 17 galaxies, they would be back with more ships and better tactics. Tell all ships to return to base, he ordered. We have work to do. This galaxy needs to be ready for whatever comes next. In the months that followed, the Alliance grew stronger. New species joined every week, bringing fresh ideas and resources. The victory over the Drakkar had shown the galaxy what cooperation could accomplish. Captain Morgan found herself promoted to Alliance Coordinator, working with representatives from dozens of species to plan for the future. The job was challenging, but rewarding in ways she had never expected. Any regrets? Admiral Sullivan asked during one of their regular briefings. About what? Morgan replied. About answering that first distress call. About getting humanity involved in galactic politics. About all of this. Morgan looked out at the stars, where Alliance ships patrolled the space lanes and kept the peace. Somewhere out there, peaceful worlds were sleeping safely because dangerous people were standing watch. No regrets, she said finally. This is what we were meant to do. This is what makes us human. The age of the Deathworlders had become the Thie. Age of the P not need military protection. A few isolationist species wanted nothing to do with.